The Harbinger Project. The holographic display cast a harsh crimson glow over Captain Mira Chen's face, illuminating the tension etched into her features. Outside the viewport of lunar base Olympus, Earth hung like a fragile blue marble against the darkness of space, a precious jewel now threatened by the looming Vraxian armada. "Status report," she demanded, eyes never leaving the tactical display where 24 alien warships had materialized at the edge of the solar system. Commander Jackson cleared his throat. 27 Vraxian dreadnoughts, Captain. They've bypassed our early warning systems and established a blockade formation. We're receiving a transmission. The air shimmered as the hologram shifted to display a Vraxian admiral, a towering reptilian figure with iridescent scales and multifaceted eyes that betrayed no emotion. "People of Earth," the translation software rendered in a flat monotone. "Your species has violated Galactic Assembly Directive 1138. You have developed weapons technology beyond your permitted threshold. The penalty is immediate quarantine and resource appropriation. You have 12 Earth hours to surrender all military installations and submit to Assembly authority." Chen's fist clenched at her side. Humanity had endured 20 years of subjugation since first contact, classified as a juvenile species by the Galactic Assembly, and restricted from developing technologies that might challenge the established powers. Resources stripped from Earth's colonies, innovation stifled, human potential chained by arbitrary regulations enforced by species who had achieved interstellar travel millennia earlier. The transmission ended, leaving the command center in silence. General Harris, Earth Defense Forces commanding officer, exchanged a meaningful glance with Chen. "It seems our secret isn't a secret anymore. We've run out of time." "Sir," Chen replied, "Harbinger isn't ready. The probability drive is untested outside simulation. Dr. Khatri estimates we need another 3 months tow." "We don't have 3 months, Captain," Harris cut her off. "We don't have 3 days. You've been selected for this mission because you understand what's at stake. Authorization code Phoenix Dawn. Effective immediately, you are cleared to deploy Project Harbinger." The weight of the order settled on Chen's shoulders like lead. Project Harbinger, humanity's forbidden masterpiece, developed in secret beneath the lunar surface for 15 years, violating 17 different assembly technology restrictions. A warship unlike any other, created from reverse-engineered alien tech and human innovation born of desperation. 6 hours later, Captain Chen stood in the cavernous launch bay, staring up at humanity's last hope. Unlike conventional warships with their bulky armaments and visible propulsion systems, Harbinger was an elegant paradox, simultaneously imposing and subtle. Its obsidian hull absorbed light rather than reflected it, the smooth contours broken only by faint geometric patterns that seemed to shift when viewed from different angles. At 400 meters in length, it wasn't large by assembly standards, but its appearance conveyed something the galaxy had never seen in human engineering: absolute confidence. "She's beautiful, isn't she?" Chen turned to find Dr. Ilara Khatri approaching, the chief scientist's expression a mixture of pride and apprehension. The brilliant physicist had dedicated her career to the project, working with technologies the Assembly had expressly forbidden humans to understand. "Is she ready, Doctor?" Chen asked, voicing the question that would determine Earth's fate. Khatri ran a hand through her silver-streaked hair. "As ready as she'll ever be. The probability matrix is stable. Quantum coherence is holding at 94%. The weapons systems," she hesitated. "They're operational, but untested outside simulation. And the drive. The phase shift drive can handle the displacement. But remember, what we're doing isn't just bending physics, Captain. It's rewriting it. There's theory, and then there's reality." Chen nodded. "We're about to find out how well they align." The boarding process was rushed but methodical. Chen's hand-picked crew of 12, the minimum required to operate the vessel, consisted of Earth's finest, tactical specialists, engineers, and scientists, all who had volunteered despite knowing the mission's dangers. Everyone understood they might never return. The ship's interior defied conventional naval design. Instead of the utilitarian corridors of standard vessels, Harbinger's command center was a spherical chamber with stations arranged in a circle. At the center floated a translucent orb, the physical interface for HFY, the artificial recursive intelligence array that served as the ship's neural network. "All systems online," reported Lieutenant Commander Riza, Harbinger's tactical officer. HFY is processing Vraxian fleet configurations and developing response scenarios. "Welcome aboard, Captain Chen." HFY's voice was eerily human, emanating from everywhere and nowhere. "Harbinger's systems are calibrated for optimal performance. Phase shift drive is ready for initialization." Chen settled into the command chair, which molded to her form. "Pre-launch diagnostic. Hull integrity at 100%, reported Chief Engineer Ortiz. "Quantum shielding nominal. Probability weapons armed and ready." "Begin undocking sequence," Chen ordered. "Maintain stealth protocols." The massive launch bay doors above them parted silently, revealing the star-speckled void. There was no conventional thrust, no engine flare to announce Harbinger's departure. Instead, the ship simply ceased to be in one location and existed in another, the phase shift drive manipulating space-time in ways that assembly scientists had deemed impossible for humans to achieve. In the command center on Luna, General Harris watched the sensor readings with a mixture of awe and trepidation as Harbinger vanished from detection. "May whatever gods exist watch over them," he murmured, "because we just released something the galaxy isn't prepared for." Harbinger materialized at the edge of the solar system, cloaked in a quantum field that bent light and sensor readings around its hull. To any observer, even the sophisticated detection arrays of the Vraxian fleet, it simply wasn't there. "Position confirmed," Navigator Wells reported. "We're holding at 5 million kilometers from the Vraxian formation, completely undetected." Chen studied the tactical display. 27 warships, arranged in a standard blockade pattern. Each dreadnought was a city-sized behemoth bristling with conventional weaponry, devastating by human standards, but predictable. The Vraxians, like most assembly species, relied on overwhelming force rather than innovation. "HFY, tactical analysis," Chen ordered. The AI's voice was calm. "Vraxian vessels utilize standard assembly weapons technology, particle beams, fusion missiles, and gravitational disruptors. Their shielding is formidable, but operates on predictable frequency patterns. Harbinger's probability weapons can target the phase variance in their shield modulation. And if we engage?" Chen asked, the question hanging heavy in the air. "Based on current simulations, Harbinger can neutralize the entire fleet with 98.3% probability of success." Araya paused. "However, Captain, I must note that deploying our full weapons capability will alert all assembly monitoring stations within 50 light-years to our technological advancement. In other words, there would be no going back. Once Harbinger revealed itself, humanity would be declared a rogue species. The assembly would send everything they had." The decision crystallized as Chen received a transmission from Earth Defense Command. "Captain," General Harris's voice came through, tight with urgency. "The Vraxians have launched an orbital strike against our Pacific defense platform as a demonstration. 3,000 personnel presumed lost. They're demanding immediate surrender." The command center fell silent. Chen looked at the faces of her crew, determination mingled with quiet rage at the callous destruction of human lives. "Tactical, bring weapons systems online," Chen ordered, her voice steady despite the gravity of the command. "Target the Vraxian flagship. Let's introduce ourselves." Lieutenant Commander Riz's fingers danced across his console. "Probability cannon charge. Target locked. HFY, disengage stealth field. Let them see us coming." The quantum shroud surrounding Harbinger dissipated, revealing the sleek warship to Vraxian sensors. Almost immediately, the alien fleet responded, shifting formation to bring weapons to bear on the unexpected threat. "We're being scanned," Reza reported. "They're attempting to identify the ship class." "They're hailing us," Communications Officer Park added. "On screen," Chen ordered. The Vraxian admiral appeared again, compound eyes widening slightly, the equivalent of shock in their species. "Unidentified human vessel, you are in violation of assembly restrictions. Power down your systems immediately and prepare to be boarded." Chen rose from her command chair, facing the projection squarely. "This is Captain Mira Chen of the Earth Defense Force vessel Harbinger. You have attacked an Earth installation without provocation and murdered thousands of our people. We do not recognize your authority. Withdraw your forces immediately or face the consequences." The admiral's scales rippled with what might have been amusement. "Your species' arrogance is remarkable. One small vessel against 27 dreadnoughts. Observe the price of defiance." The transmission cut off. On the tactical display, Chen watched as 5 Vraxian warships broke formation, weapons charging as they moved to surround Harbinger. "They're targeting us with conventional weapons," Reza reported. "Impact in 20 seconds." Chen nodded. "Let them fire first. Initiate probability shift on my mark." The space around Harbinger warped as dozens of energy beams lanced toward the human vessel. For a moment, it seemed the ship would be vaporized instantly. "Mark," Chen commanded. What happened next defied conventional physics. The incoming fire didn't impact against shields or hull. Instead, the energy beams passed through the space Harbinger occupied as if the ship wasn't there at all. Because in that microsecond, probability itself had been manipulated. The mathematical certainty of impact had been reduced to 0. "Probability shift successful," Araya reported. "Enemy fire ineffective. Their weapons can't touch us," Engineer Ortiz breathed, staring at the readouts in disbelief. "Target the lead vessel," Chen ordered. "Minimal yield. Let's show them what we're capable of." The Harbinger's primary weapon didn't fire in any conventional sense. There was no visible beam, no projectile, only a ripple in space-time that propagated outward toward the targeted Vraxian ship. When it reached the alien vessel, reality itself seemed to hiccup. The massive dreadnought's shield simply winked out of existence, followed by a cascading failure of all onboard systems. "Target neutralized," Reza confirmed, voice tight with controlled amazement. "Their power grid has collapsed completely. Life support is holding, but they're dead in space." On the tactical display, Chen watched as the remaining Vraxian vessels reacted with obvious confusion, weapons firing wildly at Harbinger only to have their attacks phase harmlessly through the ship. "Transmit on all frequencies," Chen ordered, "to the Vraxian fleet and all monitoring assembly stations. This is Captain Mira Chen of Earth. For 2 decades, humanity has endured restrictions and exploitation under assembly rule. Today that ends. We possess technology beyond your understanding. Withdraw your forces and recognize humanity's sovereignty, or discover what else we're capable of." As the message was transmitted, Chen knew that Harbinger had just changed everything. The secret was out. Humanity had broken the chains, and the galaxy would never be the same. Defiance and legacy. The response from the Galactic Assembly came faster than anyone had anticipated. Within hours of Harbinger's demonstration against the Vraxian fleet, emergency transmissions flooded Earth's communication networks. The 5 major species that comprised the Assembly Council were, for the first time in recorded history, united in absolute panic. Aboard Harbinger, Captain Chen watched the incoming messages with grim satisfaction. The remaining Vraxian ships had retreated to a defensive position, clearly unsure how to respond to a human vessel that could negate their attacks and disable their ships with apparent ease. "They're scared," observed Commander Reza, studying the tactical display where the Vraxian dreadnoughts huddled in formation. "They should be," Chen replied. "We've just upended the balance of power they've maintained for millennia." Lieutenant Park's console chimed with an incoming transmission. "Captain, priority message from Earth Defense Command." And There's a direct communication request from the Assembly Council itself. Chen straightened in her command chair. Put the council through first. Let's hear what they have to say. The holographic display shimmered before, resolving into 5 distinct figures, representatives of the elder species that had ruled the galaxy since before humans had discovered fire. A crystalline Latari, a gaseous Vordi contained in an environment suit, a biomechanical Telosian, an insectoid Nargisi, and the chidnous form of a mixtoric elder. Captain Chen. The Telosian spoke, its synthetic voice unnervingly calm. You have created an abomination. The technologies incorporated into your vessel violate the fundamental restrictions placed upon juvenile species. Restrictions you impose without our consent, Chen countered. After you arrived in our system and declared yourselves our superiors based on nothing but your head start in evolution. The Latari's crystalline form pulsed with colored light, their method of expressing emotion. The restrictions exist for good reason. Probability manipulation technology nearly destroyed our civilization 10,000 years ago. The phase-shifting capabilities your vessel demonstrates were banned across the galaxy after the collapse of the Third Era. And yet you kept this knowledge for yourselves, Chen noted, while extracting our resources and limiting our development. This discussion is pointless, interrupted the Nargisi, mandibles clicking in agitation. The human vessel must be destroyed immediately. We demand its surrender and the execution of all scientists involved in its creation. Chen's expression hardened. I don't think you understand the situation. Harbinger isn't our only breakthrough. We've established a dead man switch. If this ship is destroyed, if Earth is attacked, the designs and specifications for our technology will be broadcast to every species in the galaxy. The playing field gets leveled permanently. The council members exchanged glances that transcended their biological differences, unified concern. You are making demands of the Assembly Council, asked the Youngstoric, its voice a harsh rasp. Unprecedented. Times change, Chen replied simply. Humanity wants its freedom. Recognition as a sovereign species with all the rights that entails. No more restrictions, no more resource quotas, no more treating us as lesser beings. Impossible, declared the Vordi, its gaseous form swirling erratically. The consequences will be exactly what you fear, Chen finished for him. Other juvenile species demanding the same treatment. The end of your artificial hierarchy. Evolution, counselors. Adapt or become extinct. The transmission ended abruptly, the council cutting the connection rather than continue a conversation where they no longer held absolute power. They'll retaliate, Reza warned. They can't afford to let this stand. Chen nodded. I'm counting on it. Park, get me Earth Defense Command. General Harris appeared on screen, his expression grim. Captain, I assume you've spoken with the council. They're exactly as arrogant as we expected. Sir. Well, they've made their position clear to us as well. We have 6 hours to surrender Harbinger and all associated research, or face severe consequences. Assembly battle groups are being diverted to Seoul from across the sector. Chen's jaw tightened. How many ships? Current estimates suggest over 300 vessels will arrive within 48 hours. More will follow. Harris' expression remained stoic, but his eyes betrayed his concern. The President is considering our options. There's only one option, sir. We fight. Harris nodded slowly. The Emergency Council agrees. As of 1400 hours, Earth has formally withdrawn from the Galactic Assembly and declared independence. We're activating all defense platforms and deploying the prototypes. Chen's eyebrows rose. The prototypes are operational. Barely. 4 vessels with partial implementations of Harbinger's technology. Not nearly as sophisticated, but enough to show the Assembly we're not bluffing. Harris leaned closer to the camera. Mira, I need to know, can Harbinger handle what's coming? Before Chen could answer, Araya's voice interjected. General Harris, I have completed my analysis of Assembly military capabilities. Even accounting for their numerical superiority, Harbinger's probability weapons provide a significant tactical advantage. However, sustained combat against multiple battle groups will strain our systems. Chen considered this. Sir, we can hold them off, but we need a more permanent solution. Using Harbinger as a deterrent will only work until they develop countermeasures, which is why we're implementing Phoenix Protocol, Harris responded. Dr. Caffrey's team has adapted the probability technology for defensive applications. We're beginning installation around Earth and the colonies immediately. The implications weren't lost on Chen. Humanity was committing fully to this new path, transforming from an oppressed juvenile species to a power that could stand against the Assembly. There would be no going back. Over the next 24 hours, the situation escalated rapidly. Harbinger remained on patrol at the edge of the solar system as the first wave of assembly ships began to arrive. A mixed fleet of Latari and Nargizi vessels, nearly 60 strong. They're holding position at the heliopause, reported Navigator Wells. Scanning patterns suggest they're trying to analyze our capabilities. Chen had expected nothing less. The assembly species hadn't survived for millennia by rushing blindly into conflict. Araya, what are they learning? The AI's response was immediate. Very little, Captain. Our quantum signature is continuously shifting, preventing detailed analysis. However, they are deploying specialized sensor drones that may eventually penetrate our defenses. Then we don't give them time, Chen decided. Tactical, prepare a demonstration. Target one of their sensor platforms. Minimal yield, maximum visibility. The crew worked with quiet efficiency as Harbinger's systems charged. The probability cannon, a weapon that didn't destroy so much as rewrite the mathematical certainty of a target's existence, hummed to life. On the main display, Chen watched as the targeted sensor platform simply ceased to exist, its component atoms redistributed across multiple probability states simultaneously. The effect rippled outward, temporarily distorting space itself around the point of impact. The assembly fleet's reaction was immediate. Ships scattered in apparent disarray, breaking formation to avoid clustering as potential targets. They're transmitting on all frequencies, Park reported, demanding our surrender again. Chen almost felt sorry for them. The assembly had relied on technological superiority for so long that they couldn't comprehend being outmatched. No response necessary. Maintain position and continue monitoring. 6 hours later, the tide turned. A massive flash of Cherenkov radiation heralded the arrival of the assembly's main force. Over 200 warships from all 5 elder species, arranged in attack formation. They're not holding back, Riza observed grimly. That's enough firepower to glass a dozen planets. Chen studied the tactical display, noting the formation's weaknesses. They still don't understand what they're facing. Araya, battle simulations. The AI's voice was steady. Multiple scenarios calculated. Recommended action. Initiate full probability cascade. Target. Command vessels of each species contingent. Projected outcome. 83% of enemy fleet neutralized with minimal structural damage. The weight of the decision pressed down on Chen. A full probability cascade wasn't just a weapon. It was a fundamental rewriting of physical laws within a defined space. The scientists who had developed the technology had warned that its use could have unforeseen consequences on space-time itself. Captain, Engineer Ortiz spoke up, her voice tense. Harbinger wasn't designed for this level of engagement. The probability matrix can't sustain multiple cascades without risk of coherence failure. Meaning what exactly? Chen asked, though she suspected she knew the answer. Meaning the ship might tear itself apart and take a significant portion of space with it. Chen closed her eyes briefly, weighing humanity's future against the risk. When she opened them, her decision was made. Send a message to Earth. Inform General Harris that we're initiating Phoenix Omega. Then target the assembly flagship and prepare for full probability cascade. The command center fell silent, each officer understanding the magnitude of what was about to happen. This wasn't just a battle. It was a statement to the galaxy that humanity would never again be subjugated. Message sent, Park confirmed quietly. The general's response: Godspeed, Harbinger. Chen stood from her command chair, addressing her crew directly. What we do here today changes everything, not just for humanity, but for every species labeled juvenile and held back by assembly restrictions. We may not survive this, but our actions will echo across the stars for millennia. She turned to face the tactical display, where the assembly armada approached in perfect, predictable formation. Area. Initiate probability cascade. Full spectrum. Probability cascade initiating. Area confirmed. Targeting parameters locked. Captain, I must inform you that this action will likely alert all sentient species within 500 light-years to the existence of probability manipulation technology. That's counting on it, Chen replied. What followed defied description in conventional physics. Harbinger didn't fire a weapon in any traditional sense. Instead, the ship became the center of a reality distortion that expanded outward in concentric waves. Where these waves touched assembly vessels, probability itself fluctuated wildly. Some ships simply winked out of existence. Others found their molecular structures rearranged into exotic matter. A few began to exist in multiple states simultaneously, both present and not present, functioning and disabled. The effect was catastrophic for the assembly fleet. Within moments, nearly 80% of their forces had been neutralized without firing a single shot. But the cost was immense. Aboard Harbinger, systems began to fail as the probability matrix destabilized. Coherence failure in progress. Ortiz shouted over the wail of alarms. The cascade is feeding back into our systems. Structural integrity at 64% and falling. Another officer reported. Phase shift drive offline. We're locked in normal space. Chen gripped her command chair as the ship shuddered violently. Area. Status of the assembly fleet. Remaining vessels are retreating, Captain. The probability cascade exceeded projections. Space-time distortions will prevent further large-scale fleet actions in this region for approximately 73.6 years. Despite the chaos around her, Chen smiled. Mission accomplished, then. Captain. Aria's voice had changed, becoming almost contemplative. I am detecting anomalous readings from the probability matrix. The cascade has created a self-sustaining reaction that cannot be contained. Meaning? Harbinger will be destroyed, but the probability field will persist indefinitely. This region of space will become permanently altered, a monument and a warning. Chen understood the implications immediately. A dead zone. No conventional technology will function here. And no assembly vessels will be able to approach Earth through this vector, Aria confirmed. You have created the ultimate defensive barrier, Captain. At the cost of this ship and crew. Chen looked around at her officers. Each had known this mission might be one way, yet had volunteered without hesitation. Begin evacuation procedures. Launch all escape pods toward Earth. Aria, can you maintain the ship's systems long enough for the crew to escape? I can, Captain. But you should know that the probability distortions will prevent normal communication. The true story of Harbinger may never be known. As the crew scrambled to evacuation stations, Chen remained on the bridge, watching the tactical display where the remnants of the assembly fleet fled in disarray. Harbinger had accomplished its purpose. Humanity would be free. 3 days later, the Galactic Assembly Council convened an emergency session. For the first time in recorded history, the 5 elder species found themselves united in genuine fear. The human vessel has created an unprecedented anomaly, the Telosian representative reported. A region of space where probability itself is in constant flux. Our ships cannot approach Earth through this corridor. And the humans demanded the Mxtoric Elder. They have deployed similar technology throughout their system. Primitive implementations, but effective. We cannot remove them without catastrophic losses. The Lateri's crystalline form dimmed to a deep blue, the color of resignation. Then we have no choice. The quarantine has failed. The humans must be recognized as a sovereign species. And the technology, asked the Vorti, must be prohibited more stringently than ever before. The Nargizi declared, no record of the human ship can remain. Strike it from all archives. Erase its existence. The council was unanimous. Harbinger, the ship that had broken humanity's chains, would be erased from official history. But its legacy would endure in the freedom it had won and in the mysterious region of distorted space that pilots would come to call the Veil, a place where reality itself became fluid and where many swore they could sometimes glimpse, like a ghost in the void, the silhouette of a sleek human warship that had changed the galaxy forever.